So, part two to the story about ending my 13-year addiction. So, a couple of years go by. Like I said, after I saw the truth about my son's father and what he was capable of, I knew I had to get on my grind and do what I need to do as a woman. And I spoke to my family about my situation and what happened to him and how it was affecting me big time, that because you're going through something within the family, you feel like you should take it out on me, your girlfriend, now baby mother. My family was completely upset with this because they didn't know I was even dating, let alone taking this guy serious. And then on top of that, they never heard of him. So imagine like hearing that your family member is pregnant by an older guy and you're 22 years old, and it's like, yeah, I just started dating and already he's doing this to you. What you gonna do about it, right? And I keep saying that to myself. What are you gonna do about it? Like, year after year. So I decided I was gonna continue to do what I need to do as a woman, take care of my son, don't worry about no one else or him, and try to find a way to move on, as well as, getting over the death of my family members, because one by one, after my grandmother passed away, slowly, like, more of my family members started passing away. So I didn't talk to nobody about it. Instead of me going to somebody and talking about it and grieving the proper way like anybody else would do, I kept everything to myself and I was grieving my own way, which was doing what no one would ever imagine me doing in a million years, which was overdosing on painkillers, over overdoing it with the drinking and staying out late and taking my anger out on everybody, and come home and just stay shut for like days at a time. I even locked myself in my room, even though I had my kids. So I overdosed on pain medications and tried to take myself out. That didn't work. I cut myself, burned myself. I was doing everything I can to take myself out and it didn't work. This is how bad my whole situation was going. And then I felt like my life was going down this in a spiral. Can't nobody tell me anything. Didn't want to talk to a doctor about it. Didn't want to talk to a therapist about it. I kept it to myself, and I successfully kept it to myself for about 5 years. So my son was 5 years old, about to turn 6. I decided I wanted to try to, end myself. And I hung myself up in the window in my living room. And this is when I was living in my first apartment that was once my grandmother's. And my brother was living with me at the time, and his girlfriend was there with us, but they was chilling. She wasn't living with me at the time, but she was chilling with him. And all of a sudden, while my son was in school, my daughter was at home, because mind you, after all these years passing by and me learning how to get over my ex, which is my son's father, I end up seeing somebody else, started dating somebody else, and end up having a kid, all within maybe about 4 months of dating. And then, like I said, at the time, my whole thing was, I'm gonna live my life the way I want to, and I do things without having any regrets. And I decided to make my life a little easier just by being bad. So this is how bad this man got me. Like, he was in my head. It was all about him. And at that time, I didn't even know what a narcissistic person was until later on this year, until I started to notice one by one, like, people that I dealt with. And then somebody taught me how to spot a narcissistic person when I deal with one. I wish I could have known then what I know now. That's the perfect thing I would say. All the stuff that I started to learn now, I wish I could have learned it back then. And maybe I would have cut him off right then and there and never got serious with him. But I tried to end myself. And this was in 2016. This was in the summer of 2016. And my brother found me hanging in my window. And I know for a fact that I scared him half to death because he never seen me in this position ever. And all I have to say is everything that I was doing to myself was the result of me going through my pregnancy alone and being left alone by my own son's father. And then the thing was, he never dumped me. He never ended the relationship. He just up and left because he couldn't deal with the death of his father, and he just couldn't deal with everything hitting him at once. Like, his father passed away, his girlfriend is pregnant, which was me, and then he's dealing with baby mother drama with two other women, which I didn't even know he even had any other kids. Because when we started dating, he told me he had a 13-year-old at the time. I didn't know nothing about his other kids until after I got pregnant. And I was like, okay, I was okay with it because there was nothing I could do about it. He had no kids before we even met. So who am I to say something about it, right? So after my brother found me, they rushed me over to the hospital, and I fully started gaining conscious of everything that was going on because I was completely blacked out. I didn't know what was going on. I was unconscious for a little bit, and the doctor was like, well, we need you to talk to somebody. This is serious. Whatever is going on back in your home, we could talk about it. I didn't want to talk about it because there was nothing going on in the home, but what was going on was I couldn't take my situation with my son's father very well. And he left me alone. I felt abandoned. I felt disrespected. And then on top of that, I had to like grieve the death of my grandmother. And if you know, you know, like my grandmother raised me. I looked at her as a mom. She was the only person in my life other than my aunt. She raised me, and she's the only person that I know anything of like very well. So I kept quiet. Like, it took about 3 weeks to get me to say something. It took me almost a month for me to say something to anybody. The first time I spoke to a psychiatrist at the psych ward, they tried to tempt me to say something, and I kept cursing them all out. I didn't want to hear nothing that anybody had to say. I told them to leave me alone. So about 2.5 weeks later, they finally got somebody to come in that was a little more down to earth, a little more easy going, and they found a way to get me to open up. So when they heard why I tried to off myself, like I was trying to end my life, they kind of felt bad because they was like, I never heard somebody that went through what you went through and still kept it moving and not doing nothing about it until family members start passing away. And then I heard it from more than one nurse that so many people's like me who don't know how to deal with deaths tend to ball up everything inside and don't do nothing until that one incident or somebody just unexpectedly try to trigger you, and that's when everything blows up. And either you overdose on alcohol, pills, whatever the case is, or you get into fights. And in my case, I was overdosing on, narcotics. I was overdosing on non like pain pills, stuff that wasn't even narcotics as well. And they took me to two different hospitals, and it really didn't work. And I would like to say that after spending a month and a half in the hospital, that I didn't feel a difference. It didn't matter to me if I was in the hospital or I was at home. I was going to suffer the situation that I was going through anyway. And I felt like me being in the psych ward didn't help. So I got discharged, and they wanted me to keep in contact with them. So they gave me a therapist to talk to, and I got the therapist that I talked to. I still talk to her to this day. So we've been talking since 2016. And I can honestly say that I love her. Like, She is so sweet, so easygoing. She was easy to talk to. And I no longer look at her as a therapist because we got so close over the years, because she opened up to me about a little bit about her life just like I did. And I kept it close to me because it meant something to me that somebody that could, you know, put themselves in my shoes and talk to me and give me the best advice. It made me feel a lot better. It made me feel like I wasn't alone. And then slowly I started meeting peoples out here in public and I started opening myself up. But I still had this addiction to this man.